I'm going to come up with another name for this project. I don't want to keep all of them in the God is real, because it's just projects, like have little segments. There'll be a different name every time. It's like unlimited. I don't want to limit myself to just 2 or 3 platforms and just have all my ideas flowing out of that. Because technically I can just make this a part of when dreams become a reality. And but that'll get drowned out. People are going to drown out of it. But when you make it a different show, a whole new concept, change the directing, change the angles, change when you record, change how long you record, all of those things that you have the perfect option to customize. It's like, oh, you can create as much as you want. You should want to create because you have so many tools. You have so many tools, so you're not going to make a painting when you have all the stuff to make a sculpture. With 3D, we can't think linearly. You have to think on a 3D mindset of, you can do so much. You can get super details. You can go far. You can make a lot. You can make big, small, whatever. But you have complete control over that. Especially when you know how to utilize the tools that are presented in front of you. That's why good education and good reading, like you learn. You have more tools. You're able to access more tools when you learn more. So it's always good to, whatever you do, always get into the passion and love of learning. I learn a lot. I listen to music. I learn from the lyrics. I learn from the beat, how the producer, how they're stopping and going on certain beats. They're drowning out a horn. It's like that's all customizable. They wanted that horn sound to be that long, so I want to know why. So I listen and study their music, and it's like, oh, it makes sense. But it's not a flat out, you know why. It's just, you understand. You come to an understanding of what they're doing. If everybody focuses on trying to understand people rather than taking what you do and not understanding them and just moving on with it, like if you don't agree with somebody or if you don't know somebody, try to understand them first, and then it'll make for a better relationship. It's like, I know I'm destined for greatness. I know I'm going to be a motivational speaker. I know I'm going to have a power and voice to change people's lives and give people money, give them opportunity, give them hope. I know that's what I'm going to be doing. That's because I'm doing it now. So if I'm doing it now, I'm only going to get better, and I'm only going to get bigger because I'm focusing on getting better and bigger. This is what I want to do. And of course, I have businesses that just works better. That just works to my advantage by default as far as business, because the bigger my voice is, the more I have an audience. The bigger the audience will be, the bigger the business will be. But that's not my intentions. My intention is I want to inspire the world. I want to help. I want to be that OG for my younger cousins. I want to be that OG for older cousins and anybody. I want to be that role in life where I spit that knowledge. I give you game. Like, peep the game. My dad gives me game. And it's not even where he's consciously telling me this is how it should be. It's just the person he is. I learn from his actions. He's misunderstood. I'm misunderstood. But that's my OG, so I want to be like my dad. It's crazy that it comes to 24 years of living for me to even acknowledge that or want to, because when I was younger, I didn't want to dress like him. I didn't want to be like that family, that kid where you dress with the same way as your dad. I wasn't like that. I had attitude against that. And of course, my parents, everybody has issues in family, or the parents are divorced, parents not together. That's just life. Like, not everybody's meant to be with each other for the rest of their lives, but it's just misunderstandings, miscommunications, and different types of personalities. So then you clash. And then you have moments where you're together and you're good as far as cordial and friendly, because it's just that part of your life. But then on certain aspects, when you disagree and you can't compromise on those disagreements, that's when you have the bickering, because both parties aren't trying to understand. It may be both are not trying to understand, or maybe one's not trying to understand, but either way, nobody's understanding each other. So that's how the bickering and the negative happen. But I was told when I was younger, just because of their issues, not to be like my dad, because he may have some ways. He does have ways. Everybody has ways that you don't agree with, or you don't want. It's not necessarily the best thing, or it's not perceived as the best. Everybody has those. So I was told, like, that was brought to my attention when I was younger by my mom, not in a malice way, like she loves my dad, but just in a way of, oh, I don't want you to have this characteristic. I don't want you to have this trait. So she would, in doing that, she would be low-key like trying my dad or putting him in a negative light. but she wasn't doing it intentionally for me to look bad, like look at my dad in a bad way. But I'm also noticing she never bragged or told me about his good traits. It was always a focus on what was his bad traits. So with her neglecting his good traits or acknowledging his good traits to me, I completely missed how great of a father my dad was when I was younger. I completely neglected and I was oblivious to that. Because now that I know him as an adult and a mature mind, I'm on my own, a grown man, and I'm learning life moments that he's already gone through. He's my dad. He had me. I don't even have a child. He has 4 children, so I don't even have a child. So I can imagine the stuff that he's had to go through to conquer life. And he didn't live in the best neighborhood. It wasn't the best family structure. But for my dad to come out strong, hard worker, loving man, caring for all his children, caring for everybody he's involved with. He's funny, he has a sense of humor, but he has his own where he can strike in. He's creative, diligent, like he's a very hard worker. So these are all traits that I was oblivious to. The only traits I knew from my dad that were blatantly obvious was I was an athlete. He was an athlete. That was one of his positives. He was probably just as good as me in high school and at the same age. And I would hope, and I am better athletically than he was, but that's what you should want from your son. Why? Because you're giving him the knowledge in the game to get better. So you will want him to get better. So it's like expecting a negative on your return investment. Like, why would you put something out if you wanted to come back bad? Like, he wants me to do well. But my mom would only point out that she would only harp on when the negatives came from that. But it's like, that was just, even if negatives came from that, that was still, you have to acknowledge that it was very important in my life. I had my dad at all my basketball games, all my sports events. A lot of kids don't have their father at their sports events. The best player in the world doesn't have his father at his sports events. LeBron James' father isn't involved in his life. So you can get that big, even if his father had negatives. Even if your father has negatives, the fact that your father is involved in your life, that's a great man. There's so many children there's so many baby moms that have deadbeat men. They're not in any of their children's lives. No matter how negative they are, they're not in their children's lives. They have to pay for everything themselves. That's not my father. My father is involved in all of his children's lives. My father is very respectful, very laid back and chill, but he will take it there if it has to be. My dad is a juvenile detention officer for criminals, for young criminals. So the young kids in Miami and everybody knows Miami is a very high crime city. Like, the crime rate is big here. It's not on that Chicago level, but it has the same potential to get there if things aren't taken in control. And he's a detention officer for the young criminals. And those are the majority, that happens most of the time. The juveniles are the ones breaking in. Those are the ones shooting, the drugs. You don't have all these old OGs in the game on the block anymore. You don't have these old drug dealers sitting on the corner and bagging dimes of weed. And those people, yeah, you have the big drug dealers, but they're not going to be out there like that.
6 miles. Keep left on FLA 26 East toward Beaches.
The drug dealers and the crime and the high crime rate is in the youth. And my dad is the one that's dealing with the worst of the worst. So my dad is a very strong and intelligent man. So for somebody to he's in control. The people who killed Sean Taylor's, the guys who killed Sean Taylor, he saw them. He sees all of these people, and it's like he has a perspective on life that most people don't have, will never have. So if you never have that experience, you will never be able to tell somebody about that experience. So a lot of people won't even be able to hear about his experience if they weren't around him or don't know him. Like, my dad has a lot of game and gems that he teaches me. And it's just like ways of life, and just hearing about his day and what happens in his life, I learn from it. So I have a really, really big OG. So if you guys, if you I'm a mama's boy, or I grew up a mama's boy. I'm probably going to die of both of them, but probably a daddy's boy. And it's just the reversal of the roles and the time in my life. And a young child's life, they need their mother heavily involved. They need that, especially for both, but especially a male. With the opposites, you need that.